According to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, saints are persons in heaven who lived heroically virtuous lives, offered their lives for others, or are martyred for the faith, and who are worthy of imitation. During our trip to Ireland, we were walking in the footsteps of legendary saints from the 5th century, St. Patrick, St. Bridget, St. Columba, and St. Kevin to name a few. The more I listened to their stories and miracles, I couldn't help but see how much pride they take away from these figures, even being ingrained in the modern culture, like St. Patrick's Day or empowering stories of St. Bridget. These saints were like rock stars to Ireland. I also couldn't stop drawing comparisons to the Philippines, where our saints are a pride of the nation, yes, but it does not transcend onto the cultural pride. I think this speaks volumes to how Catholicism was used under colonial rule between the two countries. Despite the two nations sharing colonial past and predominantly Catholic populations, Ireland and the Philippines differ in their religious impact and cultural landscape. The difference can be best seen through their local saints. Ireland, known as the Island of Saints and Scholars, has numerous notable saints who enable national pride and help preserve their cultural heritage. In contrast, the Philippines only has two canonized saints, both martyrs, which reflect a history of subjugation and the enduring impact of colonialism. It could be said that Ireland was the first British colony, being first invaded by the Normans in 1169. Centuries later, in 1603, the plantation of English and Scottish Protestant settlers in the northern part of the island started. It was meant to diminish the control of Irish Catholics over their own land. These British Protestants saw the Catholics as inferior. In 1649, Cromwellian forces then arrived in Ireland, meant to exterminate the Catholic population, and concluded with the establishment of penal laws, which limited the education and practice of religion of Catholics. In the early 20th century, Ireland experienced a resurgence of nationalism through the Gaelic revival, which strengthened their Irish identity. The 1916 Easter Rising, coinciding with St. Patrick lighting the Easter flame, saw Irish Republicans revolt against British rule, leading to the Irish War of Independence. The Anglo-Irish Treaty established the Irish Free State under British dominion and created Northern Ireland, splitting the Irish Free State Army and sparking the Irish Civil War. The Civil War ended with a ceasefire from the anti-treaty Republicans. The Irish Free State eventually gained full independence in 1948, forming the Republic of Ireland. Despite ongoing tensions, particularly with Northern Ireland, still part of the UK, Ireland has developed a strong economy and respect for its own history. Ireland does not shy away from its colonial past. Dublin Castle, filled with British monarchy artifacts, including Queen Victoria's throne and a portrait of Ireland's handover to the British, exemplifies this. As a tour guide noted, you cannot tell the story of one without the other. Discussing the colonial past is essential to understanding Irish independence. The Philippines was first colonized by the Spaniards in 1521 when Ferdinand Magellan landed in Cebu, bringing Christianity and firearms. A few decades later, the Spanish established a permanent settlement in Manila and conquered the rest of the archipelago. For 300 years, they maintained control through military force and religion. Some more well-off Filipinos conspired with the Spanish and profited from the oppression of fellow Filipinos. These families were able to afford proper schooling for their children abroad. In the late 19th century, this generation of educated children would grow up and be aware of the oppressive state the Philippines was under. One of these individuals would be Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal famously wrote two books, No Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, which criticized the Spanish colonizers and the church for their corruption and oppression of the local population. These books inspired the movement for an independent Philippines and give rise to a national identity. At the time, Filipinos were only Spanish citizens born in the islands, and the local populations were referred to as Indos. Rizal's books helped cement the idea that all people living in the islands were Filipino. The Philippine Revolutionary War against the Spanish was just a smaller part of the Spanish-American War, which ended with the signing of the Treaty of Paris, which saw the Spanish Empire sell the Philippines to the Americans in 1898 for $20 million. Americans saw their arrival as saving the Philippines from Spanish rule. President McKinley at the time stated their purpose was to educate, uplift, civilize, and Christianize the Filipinos. The American reform of the education system neglected the Filipino perspective, which led to much of the pre-colonial heritage being forgotten due to heavy Christianization. During World War II, Japan invaded the Philippines, wherein further atrocities were committed. The Americans would eventually liberate Manila in 1945. The Philippines eventually gained full independence on July 4, 1946. While the Philippines and Ireland share similar revolutionary histories, their prosperity differs greatly. The Philippines, still considered a developing country, continues to reel from its colonial past. This could be due to different colonial influences on religion. Ireland has a lot of saints. With no official way of knowing how many there are, it's either 400 or 1,000, with early notable ones like St. Patrick, St. Bridget, St. Columba, to name a few. St. Patrick, originally a Britannic slave, brought Christianity to Ireland by integrating Celtic culture, notably using three-leaved shamrock to explain the Trinity. He never stayed in one place and established numerous monasteries and churches across the island of Ireland. St. Bridget, inspired by St. Patrick, was a notable abbess known for her miracles and influence on the Celtic High Kings. She founded a double monastery for men and women, converted a High King before his death using straws to make a unique cross, St. Bridget's cross, which is believed to protect houses from fires. St. Columba contributed to the establishment of monasteries and preserving manuscripts. Some of the monks that descended from his monastery established their own monasteries throughout Europe. The Book of Kells can be traced directly from his monastery in Iona, which is an elaborate display of early Christian monasticism. These saints symbolize Irish pride and cultural identity, with their monasteries shaping the landscape of Ireland and Europe. Their influence is still felt today, with St. Patrick's Day celebrated globally and the villages built around the monasteries impacting the population and culture of Europe. All of these are because of the far-reaching influence of Irish Christianity in the global scene. In comparison, the Philippines only has two canonized saints, San Lorenzo Ruiz and San Pedro Calungsod. San Lorenzo Ruiz, born 1594 to a Chinese father and Filipino mother, lived a peaceful life as a family man and a clerk at Binondo Church. Falsely accused of murdering a Spaniard, he sought help from Dominican priests and sailed to Okinawa, where he was arrested. After years of imprisonment and refusing to renounce Christianity, he was tortured and died from blood loss and a suffocation. His miraculous intercession healed a 2-year-old girl, and he was canonized in 1987 by Pope John Paul II during his visit to the Philippines, the first beatification outside of the Vatican. St. Pedro Calungsod, at 14 years old, accompanied Spanish Jesuit missionaries to the Mariana Islands in 1668. In 1672, they baptized locals in Guam, but rumors of poisonous baptismal water angered Chief Matapang, who threatened the missionaries. Despite the chief's wife's consent to baptize their daughters, Matapang murdered Calungsod and the priest. In 2003, a woman who had suffered a heart attack was revived after a physician prayed for Calungsod's intercession. In both saints' stories, they were assisting rather than leading. This could be emblematic of how Catholicism was used to subjugate and pacify local Filipino population. That in their own legends, they were just on the side. This speaks volumes to how it links to the Filipino national identity. The two saints being martyrs who died on foreign soil is symbolic of the modern Filipino experience. San Lorenzo Ruiz's story is symbolic of Filipino migrants who are seeking a better life abroad. San Pedro Calungsod is representative of the common sight of Filipino overseas workers being in service and hospitality jobs. Both being symbols of resilience and strong faith, it could also be seen as an enduring scar of colonialism. These figures are notable because they're the only two saints of the Philippines, a predominantly Catholic country. You'd think there would be more saints. There are a few Filipino candidates currently considered for the sainthood, one of which is an Irish priest, Brother Egbert Xavier Kelly. Born in 1894 in County Wicklow, Ireland, he became a priest and was 20 years old when he first came to the Philippines for his teaching assignment. He would later return to the Philippines in 1935. 2 years later, he would become the president of De La Salle College, now De La Salle University, which is one of the top universities in the Philippines. Like the Irish saints before them, Xavier and his fellow Irish priests influenced the Philippines. De La Salle school color is akin to the color of the shamrock, a similar shade of green. During his tenure as the college president, he saw the expansion of the college building, 2 additional wings which housed 18 classrooms and a large canteen and a college chapel. During the Japanese occupation of the Philippines, Xavier objected to any sort of Japanese presence in the college, which at the time was a majority middle school-aged children. Eventually, a Japanese colonel requested to use the college for military purposes. Xavier showed some Irish sternness and aggressively protested the request. There was an eventual compromise reached wherein the Japanese occupied the northern wing and the southern wing would be used as a school. Per the Japanese agreement, the school was renamed to Christian Brothers Academy. Xavier was eventually taken by Japanese soldiers suspected of smuggling medicine to aid American prisoners and was never seen again. Another account describes him resisting evacuation from the university building. The following day, Japanese soldiers massacred 16 La Salle brothers on the university premises, just days before Manila's liberation. Xavier Kelly was the first to be martyred, and the last Irish president of De La Salle. Till his death, Xavier exemplified resistance in the face of oppression, like that of Irish and Filipino independence, which resisted the British and the Spanish. He stood up against the Japanese occupation. This resilience is where Ireland and the Philippines can find their commonality. Though his case for sainthood is unconfirmed, he's emblematic of both Irish and Filipino saints. Being an educator, missionary, and builder of the school, he continued the legacy of Irish saints. Then being martyred in a foreign land, being a service to the people, is like that of Filipino saints. Xavier showcases the best aspect of what it means to be Irish and Filipino. In summary, Irish sainthood is marked by numerous miracles, while the Philippines, having come to sainthood later, is defined by martyrdom. Irish saints are celebrated figures, whereas Filipino saints embody the modern Filipino experience. It could be argued that the Philippines has never been free from its oppressors. The country remains entangled with its colonial past. Despite independence, there are still American military bases present in the country, and in recent times, China threatening its sovereignty. Its biggest threat might be its own people, with the corruption and poor education hindering progress. Not much has changed, as the current president is the son of the dictator and plunderer Ferdinand Marcos. The Philippines needs all the empowerment it can get, which could possibly come from an Irish priest, to inspire meaningful change and uplift the nation. Ireland has not fully recovered from British colonialism, but it has come a long way. Significant progress has been made, yet the journey towards a truly united Irish Republic continues, requiring much effort and dedication. St. Patrick, who once united the country by integrating Celtic culture with Christianity, serves as a reminder that such unity is not an impossible task. The miracles attributed to Irish saints stand as a symbol of the nation's enduring hope and resilience, reflecting the spirit of perseverance that characterizes the Irish people.